Thank you very much. Thank you, Patrick, for putting this show together. It's always a pleasure to be here, and I think it's a great opportunity for the industry to get together and discuss some of the things that everybody's working on together. My company is Unmanned Risk Management. That's just an unmanned unit, part of Transport Risk Management is our primary company. Transport Risk Management is aviation, aerospace, insurance specialist. That's all we do. We don't, anything, if it has to do with aviation or aerospace, we insure it from 747s down to DJI Phantoms. 5 years ago, just a little bit of background, my COO walked into my office and said, we got a call from a sub-producer, which is another agent who doesn't understand aviation, so they hire us to do it for them. So he's come to us and asked if we can help him with a UAV. I said, what the hell's a UAV? Well, it's a drone. I'm like, if you can find someone that'll insure it, go for it. Came back 20 minutes later, we got it covered, we have it done. I said, holy cow, there's got to be a market. That was 5 years ago. Today we have 5,000 drones, 25 manufacturers, and about 3,000 operators. Today in our queue, I just checked it on my computer before I came up here, we have 1,410 applications pending, and we have, out of that 1,410, that's 2,312 drones. Those are commercial operators that have at least applied for insurance in the last 45 days. So we've seen an uptick about 30% over the past 90 days. We're seeing higher end systems. We're seeing people actually find coverage. So the business is, we're doing less work, we're binding more business, and it's higher quality business. And ironically, the more that we write, the lower our loss ratios have gone. So we're seeing lower losses, more business with better operators. All the way around, that is good for the insurance industry anyway, and it's a good indicator for the industry as a whole, I think. Real quickly, I want to try to explain something, because we are seeing now we've gone from no insurance to attracting a little bit of capacity into the market, now to predatory behavior and some brokers. So how the aviation and aerospace insurance industry works, so you have to obtain your coverage through a broker. Broker then goes out to the market, which are insurance companies, obtains quotes and comes back. A broker works for you. They represent the client to the market. An agent represents the insurance company to the client, to the insured. We're a broker. And so now what we're seeing is, last night was the very first time we've seen it. We see it in other lines, but this is the first time in drones. A small operator in Iowa went out and sought insurance for agriculture. They went to their local agent. Their local agent went to a wholesaler. Wholesaler is just an agency that goes to the market, and it's a middleman. That wholesaler went to the aviation market. The aviation underwriter quoted it. They added 22% to the quote, sent it back to the agent that already had, who put another 15% on it. So now we see an $800 quote go to $1,500. And that's what goes to the insured. So it's very important that once we start seeing that type of behavior, that's an indication of one of two things. One, there's not enough money in the business to make it profitable for the brokers. I can testify that is the case in a lot of them. And the other one is that they're seeing opportunity. And the least experienced brokers are going to be using wholesalers, so we're going to see more and more of that. So they don't have access to the insurance companies that write aerospace. And the end insured, the end user doesn't understand how to find a specialist in a lot of cases. So when we started insuring these drones, one of the problems that we've seen is that I alluded to is profitability. Number one, when we insure, we don't get all of that premium. That premium comes to us, goes to the insurance company, and we collect a commission. So at that point, if we're, the higher the support levels are on a risk, the less money we make, the less profitable it becomes. If we have to issue 2 certificates of insurance on a single drone, we're losing money at that point. So we've looked at it a little bit differently. We've insured every UAV that's come to our office. Again, we're into the thousands. We've learned how it works. We've developed the policy language, and we've worked with insurers who have agreed to work with us. Now, when this occurs, when you send an application to me, another little lesson on how this industry works, goes through me to 15 underwriters. Once it goes there, I have to wait for 15 underwriters to respond. I get all that information, I send it back down to the insured. They ask questions, it comes back around, it goes back up, it goes through us. Every time somebody calls us and asks, we have to one call turns into 4. So we have to find a way to simplify this to work for the drone industry for a number of reasons. One, we're not making money and it's costing the drone operators too much money. You can't run this industry. This is my soapbox here, and I appreciate Patrick giving it to me. And my underwriters are hearing this from me over and over and over and over and over again. If you go out and insure 5 drones, you have 5 drones that you're operating. If you want to go insure them, you have to insure each drone. Each drone has to be scheduled to the policy, and just like if you have 5 cars. Whether you fly 1 at a time or whether you fly 5 at a time, you have to insure each drone, because each drone carries its own level of liability, its own level of coverage that covers you as the operator for negligence and liability arising from the operation of each drone. So now that takes a $1,000 annual premium and turns it into $5,000. And then we have other issues like we need certificates of insurance. We need different limits. Some Monsanto requires $10 million of liability. Other operators may require 1. We have one customer, AT&T, requires 50 million of some operators depending upon what they're doing. So when you're changing those limits, if you're placing a $50 million limit of liability for the year, it's pricey, especially if you're not flying it very often. And this guy over here only needs 1 million versus this one who needs 4 or 3. So what we have done in Transport Risk Management is try to simplify this process of 15 insurance companies, narrow that down to 1 or 2 maybe. Excellent worldwide insurance companies, because another problem that we have is we can't cross borders. An insurance agent can't cross the border of California, much less into Canada or Europe. So that means I have to have 50 licenses. I have 50 bosses, 50 insurance commissioners, and then if I go to Europe, that adds a whole bunch more. So we have to have an insurance company that's capable of doing this worldwide. Otherwise, you're stuck with 1 or 2 states and insurance companies that can do business there. So it makes it very complicated and complex. So we've been successful in having a couple of those underwriters come to us and say, we want to team up and we want to narrow this market. I want to give you the authority, the ability to quote, excellent limits worldwide for the best premiums the most competitive premiums available in the market, with broader coverage, better coverage. So that was the first key to what we're trying to achieve here. So what the model that we're looking at, what we're developing at Transport Risk Management is this right here. It's Telematics. This is 1.4 ounces, moving from drone to drone. Well, insurance companies' answer is we've gotten used to collecting premium for the whole year, sitting on it and earning it a day at a time. We say this is a new technology, let's not get addicted to it and let's fix it right now and make this work for the industry. So the first step here has been this telematic tracker. This can be attached to any drone. I have a fleet of them in beta test right now. I can see them all over the country. I can see when they move. I can see when they fly. I can see how high, how fast. I can see if they crash. I can see if they land hard. I can see it in real time. And I know if they're flying. I know if they're defrauding the insurance company. I know it's not a post-crash placement. I know if they say they crashed it in the water. We had one insured file 5 total losses in 1 year, because when I insure you, I can't just cancel you. I'm stuck for the year. You bring me 5 losses, you bring me 50. I have to pay for all 50 of them. And if they're lost in water, I can't even prove they ever existed. Now what do I do? With this, I could see that and what that means to every other operator is that it costs you more. It costs you more to insure it, it costs you more you have to carry higher limits, and you have to fill out more paperwork. So telematics, what are the benefits? What do we have to take to our insurers to put them at ease relative to collecting that premium and keeping it for a year, investing it into building real estate, making profits off of the money as they earn it? Well, we come and we said we can reduce your customer acquisition costs because this is something that's very easy. You put it in the mail, you can send it to them. This is basically flow at Progressive. So we can reduce claims costs and fraud. We can increase the customer lifetime. So they stay because it's easy. I can move this from car to car. I can move it from drone to drone. I can move it from airplane to airplane, boat to boat, tractor to tractor. So for the customers, it means that you're going to get better rates if you're a safe operator. We can verify it, we can see it, we can see how you're operating. If you're professional and you're safe, it's going to cost you less money. It's going to reduce risk, and you're going to receive better service. I'll explain that in a second. Fringe benefits and added value. We can give you flight management data. We can give you maintenance management data. If you crash, we can have an adjuster call you. If the arm breaks on a DJI 1000, we know that it breaks at 300 hours because we see it on the other 200 that we paid claims on. And so and here's another huge benefit. You pay as you go. You pay one premium for the year, and then it just moves up from there. You need $5 million. You push this button, it sends me a message right now that says I need $5 million. Then you can punch it into your app, issue the certificate of insurance to AT&T. They get it electronically. On we go. You pay for the day. Tomorrow, it goes back to ground only and $1 million. So you're operating safely, efficiently, and it's saving you money. And we don't have to answer the phone. We love talking to our customers, but it costs money to do that. And we have to, again, if we go back to answering the phone, results in us making 4 phone calls. So all of that comes back to benefit the insured. And most times, if you can verify your operations, you can verify to a customer, these are my costs. You can control your costs, and you can bill it directly through. You know what it costs to operate your drone. Most people don't. That's a big part of it, because now you know your battery time down to the second. Now you know your maintenance costs down to the second. You can download this data from the cloud in real time. As soon as you finish, you can push the button, you can give your customer a map of the flight you just flew. Before you do the flight, you can tell your customer, log into my portal, and you can watch me fly this in real time. You can verify that that drone's out there, and you know, it's kind of a gee whiz thing, and they love watching. So what other benefits that we get here, insurers get earlier access to potential clients, and they learn more about their actual exposure. Right now, they're going to charge you double because they don't know what you're going to do. So they're charging you, and I can assure you that what we see on an application is not reality. So when somebody says that they're flying, they drive 5 miles to work and church on Sunday, in reality, Flo at Progressive finds out that you're really commuting 200 miles a day, and you know, there's a lot more exposure there. And so the insurance companies find out what their real exposure is. They don't have to surcharge you. The operator finds out they're paying for what their real exposure is. It's a win-win for everybody. Operators have the opportunity to learn about their operating style. We can geofence the drone. We can geofence the state of Nebraska. I can geofence the Golden Gate Bridge. If it goes in there, I'm not going to stop it, but I'll know it's there. I can charge the farmer in Kansas who flies 20 missions a year for 20 missions a year instead of the same price I'm charging the bridge inspector at the Golden Gate for 200 missions a year. If he leaves the state of Kansas, I can charge him for moving into Colorado. If she leaves Colorado and goes to New Mexico, then we increase it. But in the meantime, you're only paying for the exposure that you say you have that you actually have. So that's a benefit to everybody. We can come back and say, we're seeing these operational habits. You know, it's not going to affect your premium, but you may want to think about it because it's going to cost you more. You can control it. We're seeing best practices, more losses for this type of operation versus that type of operation. And that comes back with offering feedback, and you know, eventually it will lead to scoring, and it's going to make more professional operators, I promise you. If you see the automobile telematics in Europe, accident rates are plummeting for those using telematics. When it's there, you're thinking about it, and if you get feedback instantly, you can operate with it. Insurers already practice a business technique called adverse selection. What that means is I want to write the best risk that has the fewer losses, and I want my competitor to get the ones that crash all the time. How do I find out which ones those are? Just because you crash a lot, just because it's a higher exposure risk doesn't make it bad. It just means that you have to price it properly. That's why you have some insurers charging you twice as much as other insurers. Better risk pays less. Somebody else charges more, and they make money at it. So here we can manage that adverse selection so that the good operators, the professional operators, aren't being hit for the ones that are crashing the 5 drones into the water over the summer. Operators get a better deal, and they get additional services. You get an individual premium based on your exact operating profiles. Think about that. Because right now you're paying for every bad operator if you insure. Now you can, and that's the complaint I always hear, my premium went up, but I didn't crash. Well, no, but 20 other people did. And a loss ratio, when we started in this business, was 400%. So for every dollar of premium, we were paying out 4 in claims. Today, we're sub 50%. 400 to 50. Because we're getting better, we're asking the right questions in the applications, we're getting better at selecting the risks. And operators becoming more professional because people who buy insurance typically operate more professionally than people that don't. They just don't buy it. Usage pay, how and where you fly. In Europe, it's where you drive. In the United States, telematics is how you drive. We're going to be looking at the same thing, and basically you're going to pay for, you know, with telematics, you can pay for, you know, if you're flying 200 missions a year, you pay for 200 missions a year. If you fly 20, you pay for 20. Which is really, you know, most people are excited about that. It's an opportunity to actually pay for what you use. You can track it, you can bill it, you can get other services. You can do flight management, pilot logging, battery logging, aircraft logging, maintenance logging, and you know, a whole host of other services. Repair services. Robotics Guys has 800 people in their network right now. If you need maintenance services, you can log in, they can tell you where to go. Well, our goal with Robotics Guys before we considered using them as a maintenance tracking and service provider is that we had to have them we had to have an avionics shop, which is what they are, Part 145 repair stations, within 45 minutes of every drone that we insured, period. If they couldn't do that, we didn't want to deal with them. And they couldn't charge airplane annual prices. It had to be a checklist. It had to come in and be, you know, reasonable prices that people could afford that are operating this type of equipment. They've done it, they're growing and continuing to grow. Automatic crash notification. Our sensor can tell me that it just hit the floor. It'll tell me if it crashes, it'll tell me how many G's it has. It'll notify me that you know, the DJI S1000 can take X G's. We just recorded one in excess of that, it should be checked. We can send a notification, check it. We can send a claims adjuster before you know it's crashed. Insurance doesn't care if it's beyond visual line of sight. You want to fly it there? Fine. I can geofence it. I can tell when you're beyond visual line of sight. I can interpolate how far you can see a phantom from with the best vision. And we can tell if it's approaching beyond visual line of sight. We can tell if it's approaching a flyaway condition. You can be notified immediately. Do something, you know, emergency situation. Take action. So these are some of the services that we can provide as just part of the telematics. Concierge services, again, where can I go find batteries, parts, maintenance services? Where can I get help? I have a button right here in the middle. I almost was going to turn it on. If I push the button, an alarm goes off and we're notified that there's some type of issue, that they've initiated an action to tell us there's an issue. Lost or stolen, I can tell you where this is within maximum 5 meters, usually down to about 5 inches. If it's stolen, if it's missing, we have a light-sensitive version of the telematic device that can go into a case. If you're shipping it, if that case is open, we'll be notified. We can tell that somebody opened it. If it wasn't supposed to be opened, we can tell where it was, when it was. TSA, we don't insurance on demand. Instead of, again, comprehensive all risks of ground and flight, we would have the ability to place ground-only coverage, which is 50% of full flight. So you can have it covered for ground when it's on the ground, and be covered for in-transit shipping, theft, disappearance, mysterious disappearance. And then when it flies, it automatically bills you for flight. So now you're not paying for 100% for 365 days, you're paying for 50% for 10 days. Insurers get to increase customer retention. That's the biggest reason. That's the biggest reason for insurance companies' loss of money, brokers particularly. If you move around, we lose money the first year, we hopefully make it the second year. When we renew, we don't have to do all the paperwork, we don't have to go to those 15 and so that helps maintain, long-term relationships. Again, the operator gets they get a business partner that works with them, and they're not, they don't feel the need to move all the time because they're seeing what it is in real time. You're not always guessing. Variable weather TFRs. I have all the TFRs. I have the Denver sectional on my computer right now. I can see every airport in the world. I can see if you're within 5 miles of that airport in the world. If somebody tells me that my drone that I'm insuring just busted airspace, I can say, baloney. I can tell you it didn't bust airspace. If somebody tells me that my drone came through their window, I say, yeah, you're right, that's our drone. Rather than fight you in court, I'm just going to pay the claim. Saves us a lot of money because it's not he said, she said. With airplanes, we know when they crash into a house. With drones, a little bit more difficult. And again, it goes back to do they even exist? Customer viewing, reporting, and billing. You can check your own billing anytime you want to. Operators, customer support. You can access customer support online through an app on your phone at your location. Bind insurance just before you fly rather than a month in advance. Half of my life is spent answering phone calls at 11 o'clock at night on Saturday because we just got a job tomorrow. And the more of that I can get out of my life, believe me, the better it is for us and the better it is for the operator. It's going to be cheaper. If you do that 3 times, it's going to cost you an annual premium. This is what it looks like. It's here today. So this is just a screenshot of our back end. This was me with my underwriter. I'm trying to convince how awesome I am and how awesome the system is. Skiing at Breckenridge. So we can track, we've got NextRad radar. We have TFR streaming. We have sectionals. We have airports. We have national parks, military bases. All of it live, real time. This is an example of a notice that we get as soon as this one tells me that the geofence has been crossed. So if I'm geofencing one, or if I have 4 drones flying in the same area, all with my system, each one's geofenced, I can tell if they come near each other. I can tell where they are relative to each other. Am I going to change it? No, because I don't want to control your drone. I just want to provide you with the data. Here's another screenshot. This is an example of all the airports. If I click on one of those, it's going to tell me which airport it is. It's going to tell me where it is. It's going to tell me how close I am to it. And it's going to tell me who to call for permission to fly there. And you can see it's a picture, it's a quadcopter, but the white airplane is actually where the tracker is located relative to those airports. So again, I can have NextRad radar, I can have wind conditions, and this stores this for 365 days, by the way. every single point. We can go back and historically forever for as long as it's existed. This is another example of a geofence, a 5-mile geofence around the airports. So some of the other benefits are that smartphones can be used. You don't need to pick up a phone. I don't need to see this in real time. It works at GSM up to 3G and GPS. As long as I can see it, eventually, when it hooks up again with a cell system. So anywhere in the world, this will work. If you turn this on in Rwanda, it's going to work. I've seen it, I've done it, we've tested it. And so at that point, we can come back and verify that your coverage was in force, you were flying, we covered you, and we're there to, we got your back in the event of a loss. It's a self-installed device. It's completely agnostic. It can go on any aircraft. I don't care what it is. A little piece of Velcro, it goes on, it's 1.4 ounces. Battery, charge, full operation, lasts 96 hours. And that's at tracking at 1 a minute. And we can go down to 10 a second. That lowers the battery life a little bit, but still not. Yeah, if you have a longer range drone, we can just hook it to the power system. And no problem. And it's something that you can put on yourself. Here's something, you know, if I'm insuring this for $5 million, and you've got your 5 drones, if you're out in locations, I just take this and move it to the other drone. I don't care which drone is flying, I only care that this is flying. I only care that you're flying. So now you don't have to insure 5 drones, you can insure 1 drone and 1 box. We just did this with a film operator down in the Dominican Republic. Had 5 drones, geez, you know, it's going to be $10 million. It's a $100,000 insurance bill. No, it's not. It's a $1,000 insurance bill, potentially. So, the company this is the first time anyone's seeing this, by the way. An announcement will go out on May 1st, but when I mentioned we needed a company that's worldwide, this is the largest insurer of everything worldwide, because one of the things that we tend to overlook is that drones don't just fly. They also roll on the ground, they also float on the water, they go below the water. We need an insurance company that can insure everything, not just flying robots. So we're aerospace, my background is aerospace and aviation. But Allianz has teamed up for the time being. We're still in testing on Telematics. We have to prove that this works. We have to prove that it's in their benefit to use it. We have to prove that it's reliable, that the hardware works. But starting May 1st, Allianz will have the authority to be able to quote the broadest coverage that's ever been offered and placed on a drone anywhere in the world. And that reduces the need to have 15 companies signing up for something like this. And eventually we'll have the opportunity to expand that relationship, we hope. But in the meantime, it's a benefit to anybody that we work with, at least in transport risk management, and will become more beneficial as time goes by. And that's our contact information. Did I go? Sorry.
No, you're okay. All right. Okay. Now, I don't really need your services because I never crash. Aborted takeoffs and unscheduled landings only for me. We have a couple of questions. I'm going to run back here real quick.
If there's anyone here who's interested in just taking a quick look at the back end of this system that we're doing, I'm more than happy to show it to you too. It's not fully functional on my laptop, but you can get the idea.
All right, hold on.
Good morning. How are you tracking the manufacturer risk for the manufacturer when there's a mishap? I mean, I think the box, the way I describe it, it tracks the position of the drone, but you don't know the cause of the mishap, right? So
I don't know the what?
The cause. So if there's a fault in the software or design fault, your Dromatics.
I don't care what the cause is. If it's a loss, I pay for it. It doesn't matter what the cause is.
Okay, but we're not tracking it from a position of industry-wide knowledge about behaviors, EMI issues, things like that, GPS failures, things along those lines, right?
What we're doing is providing a service to our insureds. If you're insuring with us, this is a service that we can provide. Here's where that does come into impact with Piper Malibu, the most investigated airplane in the history of aviation. Wings were coming off of it at the beginning. It was determined to be uninsurable. NASA investigated it. It's not the airplane, it's the operator. How do we fix that? We train pilots. Don't do this with the Piper Malibu because the wings come off. And so they've learned that, and we fixed it, and now it's insurable. So if we see a lot of S1000s or A2 flight controllers crashing, we'll just say it's not insurable. So in the future, you come to us, we'll say, not quotable, go take it up with DJI, tell them to fix it. Once it's fixed, then we'll insure it again, once we can verify that they don't go crazy.
Thanks, Terry. I love seeing the insurance industry being innovative because we get a bad rap sometimes. You mentioned the broadest coverage. Can you hit some highlights on what you think is broader that Allianz is providing than some of the other carriers these days?
This is specific to this program, so it's going to be things like aircraft recovery. Last year, we lost 20 plus aircraft that just couldn't be recovered, that because the people on the property just wouldn't let the insured go get it. Just wouldn't let them enter their property. So we're going to cover that exposure for the insured. If you lose it on private property, they say don't come and get it. We'll work with them on going to get it. There's a couple of other coverages that I don't want to really disclose right now, but it is a special endorsement that's going on to the policy. It's not standard to the policy. I want to make sure I have Allianz's permission before I disclose what's in that endorsement.
Very quick question. You said you've got global coverage. Could you tell us which carriers you're using?
It's Allianz.
It's Alliance. Is there no roaming? It's all single?
Oh, the monitoring?
Correct.
This is worldwide. The monitoring comes with the system. If we send it to you,
I understand.
that's a good.
The cellular carrier that's felt. No additional roaming charges?
No. It doesn't matter. I'm not charging you. I'm giving it to you for free. Why do you care?
You know, there's
Why does anyone care?
somewhere.
What's that? But seriously,
for free.
seriously, that's one thing that I missed is that we're gonna send this to you for free. You're not gonna have to go out and buy it. You're not gonna have to pay for monitoring. I own it. You get it. If you want to use it, if you don't pay me, I turn it off. Tell you to send it back. Ask you to send it back. But in the meantime, it's going to be something that's not going to be. You don't have to pay for a $400 lattice system. So the monitoring on it does come. There is a charge with it. In the United States, it's on AT&T's network. So when it leaves, it just roams and it's part of the service that we pay on.
Hey Terry, thanks for the brief today. I have a question for you. You were mentioning that you could take that unit and put it on any different type of craft. Now, what if my exemption has 1,200 different drones on it? Is the same liability per equipment, or is there a different rate if I put that from a Phantom 3 to an S900 to an EB to a 3D robotic?
The exemption doesn't matter to us. We don't require an exemption. I have no idea what's on it. But if you own an Inspire, an S1000, things like that, you'd have to advise us what they are. You can't just, you would have to own it. They would have to be scheduled on the policy. We would have to know they exist.
Okay, so it does matter if you take that from one craft and put it to another one, you will have a different...
On the fleet that we're insuring.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that, so thanks for asking that. So I'll clarify, is that the aircraft that you own, you have to have insurable interest. And so at that point, we'd have the aircraft scheduled on the policy. And that'd be part of the rating, that's part of the underwriting. If we choose to insure it or not insure it and at what level.
And you did cover your numbering scheme that you have. Did you cover that in your?
I did last time. I do every time somebody asks me. When these started, there were no such things as serial numbers. There were no N numbers. There were nothing. They were built-in garages. Transport Risk Management had to invent the system that's right here on this. If you insure your aircraft through Transport Risk Management, we have to verify your ownership, that you have insurable interest, that you have it. Same standard for any other type of insurance. And at that point, and how we verify that is through invoices, bill of sale. We have all of that on record. We send you a data plate that has this number, has a barcode on it. If it crashes, we tell our adjusters, take a scanner, scan the barcode, we'll tell you what that drone should be. Every component that's on it. And if it's not, then that's not the one we're insuring. So we had to, we've had to invent this industry from the ground up. We just didn't know. We couldn't even verify they existed, so much less flew. So if we insured it, at least we knew it existed. We didn't know if it had crashed an hour before. A lot of them did. And we'd get a claim that night saying, oh, geez, I know I just placed insurance today, now it's a pile of rubble. Well, how do we tell? Couldn't.
We have time for one more question. Weave over here. Like I feel like a mouse in a maze.
I'm wondering if operators or potential operators of drones for commercial purposes would feel like it's a good thing to have those trackers on the drones to...
They don't have to. It wouldn't be a condition of coverage. We just bill annually then.
No, apart from coverage, but in order to be part of, say, a fast-track certification process or registration process, there's a lot of people and agencies that want to restrict drone usage. And if legitimate commercial drone operators all had trackers, I'm just wondering whether that would be something that would help solve that problem. And you could always find out, you could always know if a drone was following the regulations. And the trade-off is you get your certification much quicker, and you're legitimized much faster.
If we collected it, it would be, if we did this, it's a condition of coverage on the policy. When we collect it, we have a lot of information in our system. If we are investigating an aircraft accident, we can't use FAA data.
Everyone told me that I was crazy.
Can they
crazy
subpoena us?
that this wouldn't work. But it does work, and it's a great thing for people to come
personally
here for professionals.
But that's one of the reasons why we maintain ownership and we give it to you.
Use this technology
in our secure system
ways
to access it would have to be subpoenaed. So we don't make it public to anyone.
So I know you're going to have
we send you your policy, you can send your policy to whoever you want.
And I know you're going to learn how to learn legally. There's a lot of
I see what you're
misinformation
seeing
out there about what's legal,
and I
what's
think
not
that,
legal, how to be
some
legal,
of it would be of interest to.
You're going to hear
could be valued.
how to do all
And
that.
others, they just would give access as they
I want to
self-fit.
thank all the speakers that came
I
out
think there
here
could be value there to
to
verify
speak at this thing. I
operation.
know that they're all busy people. It's great. Thank you for them to come out here and help
But we
try
would
and
never,
educate the community.
ours, it would be in our
We also
system. every time we
record all
go to
those
the
sessions. And the reason we do that is we put them on
All
our
right,
YouTube
thank you,
channel
Terry.
later.
Okay, thank you.